The year is 2016. German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt has been excavating the ancient site of Göbekli Temple for over a decade. Klaus and his team have already discovered animal bones, primitive tools, and countless artifacts here. But all eyes are on one structure in particular, a T-shaped pillar intricately carved with snakes. To get a closer look at this mysterious carving, Klaus needs a crane. As it hoists him up to eye level with the pillar, he reaches out to touch its cool stone surface. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet gives way, and he plunges into a dark hole. His team rushes to the edge to peer into the gaping hole, but it's too dark to make out anything below. So they turn on their flashlights, and their blood runs cold. In the bottom of the hole lies a stone chamber containing a circle of human skulls and skeletons, each clutching their own skull in their hands. With this discovery, Göbekli Temple, located in southeastern Turkey, becomes the oldest known religious site in the world. But the archaeologists don't stick around long enough to enjoy the accolades. That's because before they left for the day, something strange happened. As Klaus removed a small amulet from the skeleton closest to the entrance, the ground began to shake. Shadows grew longer around the site, and strange symbols appeared on many of the pillars. When they shone their flashlights down into the pit, the skeletons were gone. And when they turned to leave, their colleagues were nowhere to be seen. One by one, the researchers vanished into thin air. What had they stumbled upon? Welcome to my channel. It's time to explore another terrifying cursed excavation site. Now let's head back to Göbekli Tepe, a sprawling complex of ancient structures made of limestone pillars and circular compounds. Excavations here began in the late 90s and soon revealed that the settlement dates back at least 12,000 years. This makes it the oldest known human settlement in the world, predating Stonehenge by 7,000 years. Archaeologists believe that Göbekli Tepe may have been a ceremonial center where early humans came together to worship and bury their dead. They also lived here seasonally, making it one of the earliest examples of human habitation. But just who were these people? We don't know much about them because they didn't leave behind any written records. But based on the artifacts found at the site, researchers have determined that they hunted wild animals, gathered plants, and lived off the land. They also likely kept domesticated animals, such as dogs and cattle, nearby. Because no weapons or fortifications have ever been found, historians believe that they may have been a peaceful society. But there is evidence that they were spiritual, burying their dead with great care and crafting burial chambers beneath the roots of sacred fig trees. In recent years, archaeologists have uncovered several figures carved from stone that appear to depict deities or supernatural beings. For example, the Lion Man is a 7-foot-tall statue, carved with the body of a lion and the head and arms of a human. Some scholars believe it represents a shaman, a spiritual leader with the ability to transform into an animal. Others believe it depicts a deity associated with healing and fertility. There have also been a number of snake carvings found at the site. Snakes often symbolized rebirth and healing, so they too may have had religious significance. But perhaps the most intriguing carvings are those depicting various animals, including bulls, gazelles, ducks, spiders, and even an elephant. Could these carvings indicate that the people of Göbekli Tepe had contact with other civilizations from far away? Or could they have migrated from another region before settling here? Unfortunately, we may never know. And that's not the only reason why experts are hesitant to excavate the site. There are serious concerns about preserving the ancient structures as they continue to erode. Limestone pillars have already collapsed, and others are at risk of falling apart. And thieves regularly sneak onto the site to steal artifacts. To prevent further damage and looting, the Turkish government has banned excavations at Göbekli Tepe. This means that we may never learn everything we could about the site, so the archaeologists have to be extremely thorough in their work. They can't afford to miss anything they find. That brings us back to Klaus Schmidt and his team. After discovering the underground chamber filled with skeletons, he felt compelled to investigate further. He realized that underneath the temple-like structure lay another mound, and he suspected that it could contain more graves. Sure enough, after weeks of careful digging, they unearthed more skeletons. They also found animal bones, primitive tools, and other artifacts. But what really caught their attention was the placement of the skeletons. They weren't simply buried in the ground. Instead, they were laid out in a circle inside a subterranean chamber, and each skeleton was holding its own skull in its hands. This suggests that the residents of Göbekli Tepe practiced some form of ritual cannibalism. It would be a few weeks before Klaus returned to the site, but he couldn't stop thinking about the strange skull-holding skeletons. He wondered if they might have some connection to the serpent carvings at the top of the T-shaped pillar. At the time, he hadn't yet noticed the strange patterns and symbols on the pillar itself. But once he did, he became convinced that the two were related. That's why he risked his life to climb the T-shaped pillar and remove the amulet from the skeleton. Little did he know that this seemingly innocuous action would unleash a curse. As the ground shook, Klaus grabbed onto the pillar for dear life. He watched in amazement as shadows grew longer around the site. Before long, the entire temple seemed to change before his very eyes. Symbols shifted and rearranged themselves, and when he looked down into the pit, the skeletons were gone. When he called out to his team, they didn't respond. Klaus peered over the edge, and his heart sank. The pit was empty. His colleagues had vanished along with the skeletons. Was this just a hallucination brought on by lack of oxygen and fear? Had the stress of the dig finally caused him to lose his mind? Or was there a more sinister explanation? We may never know what happened to Klaus and his team, but there is evidence that the people of Göbekli Tepe may have believed that the site was cursed. Remember, they buried their dead with great care and built elaborate burial chambers beneath sacred fig trees. But they didn't always bury their dead at the site. Sometimes they exhumed the bodies and moved them to a new location. Why would they do this? Perhaps they were trying to avoid disturbing the spirits of the dead or angering whatever deity they worshipped. Or maybe they were simply trying to protect their dead from grave robbers. Whatever the reason, they clearly believed that the dead could harm them if they weren't treated properly. When Klaus and his team arrived at Göbekli Tepe, they too began to experience strange phenomena. Animals suddenly appeared and disappeared. Strange sounds echoed across the barren landscape, and shadows seemed to stretch endlessly across the ancient structures. The team chalked it up to the remote location and their own imaginations. That is until now. Perhaps the people of Göbekli Tepe were right. Maybe the site is cursed, and those who disturb the skeletons and other artifacts are met with a terrible fate. But there's another possibility. Maybe the site isn't cursed, but rather blessed. Maybe the people of Göbekli Tepe believed that the site was cursed, but it was actually a place of great power. A place where the veil between the physical and spiritual realms is at its thinnest. Perhaps Klaus and his team didn't vanish, but were transported to another realm. Or maybe they were taken in by spirits or deities. Whatever the case, we may never know what truly happened to Klaus and his team. But I have one last piece of footage to share with you. A final piece of the puzzle that will explain everything. Take a look at this footage. Do you see anything strange? How about now? Do you still not see it? Well, let me clue you in. All of the footage we've seen so far has been filmed during the day, but this final clip is from a nighttime excavation. Look closely, and you'll see that every member of the team is covered in dirt. The same dirt that Klaus fell into at the beginning of the video. They were buried alive 12,000 years ago, and their bodies were preserved until Klaus accidentally uncovered their graves. He unwittingly unleashed their spirits, which then took their revenge on those who disturbed their slumber. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and join us next time for more terrifying tales from cursed archaeological sites. See you then. Bye.